I'm going to go ahead and jump into the questions. So the first question I have, coronavirus is spreading faster in Michigan than many other areas in the country, and that's mostly happening in the Metro Detroit area. Why is that happening, and is the stay-at-home order slowing down the spread?
Yeah, so first and foremost, why it's happening in concentrated areas is because, this virus spreads from human contact and from human proximity. It's an incredibly contagious novel virus for which there's no cure and no vaccine. It's been lingering for weeks, and so part of your question going to how long will we know before some of this stay-at-home order has an effect, it's going to take weeks. We've been transmitting COVID-19 amongst us long before we were able to even start testing for it, much less robustly test for it and really figure out exactly where it is, who's had it, who doesn't have it, who to isolate, who doesn't need to be isolated. And so we've been behind the 8 ball from the get-go. I'm working incredibly hard to make sure we get the tests and all of the masks and the personal protection equipment that we need, but I can't do overnight what should have been months of preparation. We're working hard to get our federal partners to step up and ramp up production and acquisition of these important critical components that we need to combat COVID-19. The stay-home order is something that is the best tool that we have right now to mitigate the number of people that get COVID-19 and bring down the number of people that lose their battle against COVID-19. But there are stories across our state of incredible people that are putting their own health on the line to take care of others. There are stories that are heartbreaking of young people who've gotten COVID-19 and lost the battle with it. And so this really is a crisis for our state. And while maybe it's not as readily apparent person to person in ALPENA right now, we see the spread and how quickly this is growing, and this is something that is quickly overtaking our ability to meet the need. And so that's why even in ALPENA, it's important people do their part and they stay home unless they are part of the essential life-sustaining part of our commerce.
Mm-hmm. And one question I didn't have written down, but something you said kind of made me want to follow up in this way, and that is recently I saw in the news that President Trump was saying that he wanted businesses back up and running by Easter. Do you foresee that happening?
No, I applaud his optimism, but I will say this. We have to take our cues from the medical community.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Janae Caldoun, who's our chief medical executive here in Michigan, I'm listening to some of the best epidemiologists across the country. They're telling us right now the fact that how highly communicable this disease is, how deadly it is, how underprepared we are as a nation, frankly, to combat it. The most important tool that we have is to stay away from one another. It can't spread person to person if we're not out and about. And that's why it's so important that we heed the order that I have issued, the advice of the CDC. And as we make decisions, as time goes by and we see hopefully our cases start to level off, they're going to keep climbing for a while though. And so until we see that and until we have ramped up testing and the ability to treat everyone, I would not recommend considering and making plans to get together with people until we have a handle on this and until we know it's safe.
Yesterday, we had our first case of coronavirus confirmed here in Northeast Michigan, not in ALPENA County, but obviously it is getting closer. A large portion of our population is elderly. Should they be taking any extra precautions?
Well, the order is for everyone. If you are not a part of the essential, vital life-sustaining commerce and you're not out and about for life-sustaining things like food and pharmaceuticals, you should be home. And if you are a vulnerable population, and that is, people that are over 65, that is people that are medically vulnerable, you should take all pains not to leave your house at all. Have someone else help you out by grabbing groceries for you and leaving them at your doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen pictures of people visiting their families by standing outside the window and holding up cards and communicating that way. It is important that our older citizens take every precaution they can. This is an incredibly dangerous virus, and it's not one generation that is susceptible to it and others aren't. We all are. There's no question We've had a 1-month-old in Michigan test positive for COVID-19. We've had 60 people die at the taping of this interview, and that number will continue to go up. And so it's really important that everyone takes this seriously, but especially people that are in those groups that I just described, because it is uniquely harmful to them.
Now, in a recent press conference, you asked President Trump for a major disaster declaration for the state of Michigan. What does that consist of, and do you foresee that grant being requested, or request being granted, rather?
Well, I hope so. You know, we've been really working hard to try to get the federal government to really pay attention to what's happening here in Michigan. And I just got off the phone with the nation's governors and the president and the vice president, and they recognized in their opening remarks that Oakland County, Michigan, and Wayne County, Michigan are two places that they're seeing exponential growth, and they're paying attention. We need all the help that we can get. And so while it can be frustrating at times that we didn't have more preparation on the front end at the national level, we need all the help that we can get from the federal government. I've been working with FEMA, I've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers to stand up some temporary hospital beds, but it is important that they make the federal declaration and follow up with the resources that we are going to need. I've seen a number of states do this and get the declaration made, and then it hasn't really yielded a lot of support, and that's why this is something that I think is important, but we've got to keep moving on all of these fronts in order to meet the needs in Michigan.
Is there anything else that you would just like residents of Michigan to know about, anything else they should be adhering to at this point in time?
Yeah, I just encourage everyone to stay informed, get the facts, go to coronavirus, go to michigan.gov/coronavirus for the most up-to-date and science-based information out there. This is an incredibly destructive virus. It is a threat to all of us, and it is a threat to our economy. The longer this lingers, the harder it's going to be and the more lives that are going to be lost. So please, do your part. And if you're doing something, whether you're taking a walk on Lake Huron, or you are home huddled up with your family, or you're able to call Red Cross and donate some blood, snap a picture and post it with #DoingMyPart, MI for Michigan, doing my part. We want to show some of the good that is coming out in this crisis right now. It is hard to keep our focus on those things, and that's why we want to take pains to highlight them, because in a crisis you really see who people are, and we know that tough times won't last, but tough people do. We're in this together, and we're going to get through it together.
Well, thank you so much, Governor Whitmer. I really appreciate speaking with you, and I hope you have a great day.
Bye, Lauren.
Bye-bye.